This does not apply to Julia Farmer, who has been chasing her dreams. We are here at Kingfisher Farmer, where Julia is doing organic horticulture, which is environmentally friendly and produces good quality crops. Good day, Julia Farmer.
Dumelama.
Can you take us briefly what you are doing here?
On Kingfisher Farm, we are a farm run on organic principles. So there's no use of chemicals. Everything is done to nurture nature, to help nature to do its job. Nature is very intelligent, actually, more intelligent than us.
Yes.
If we follow nature's example, then we will succeed in farming.
This seems to be an environmental friendly practice. How long have you been doing it?
It's actually 15 years now. Yeah, 15
years.
I've always loved gardening, and I'm a home economics teacher, so I love food, cooking food. So it makes a lot of sense then to grow your own food so that you know how it has been grown, and you grow what you like to eat. But how this actually happened was out of a disaster, because I was actually in education for 30 years in Botswana, but my house burnt down in 2010. I lost all my material belongings. I was not insured, but what I had left was this land, and it was almost like a clearing. I suddenly realized that I have something to be grateful for. And as I was healing from the loss, it's a grieving process, I found working in the garden was a great therapy. And it has gone on to help me through further trauma. Working with nature, I just don't think you can beat it, because whatever you do, you will have peace, and peace is what we all want. Peace and happiness is what we all want in life.
Yes. And what exactly can we find here?
I grow quite a variety, because that again is how nature works. Nature is diverse, and the plants and even the insects, they all work together. It's an ecosystem.
Yes.
So monocropping, just growing one type of vegetable, is not going to, in the long run, work very well. So one of the main things we do in organic growing is we do companion planting. So I tend to grow vegetables and herbs together, because the herbs help to protect the vegetables, and then you get the herbs as well, so it's an added bonus. But the other thing is, I particularly am interested in the heirloom varieties, the old varieties which are very varied. You can get things like purple carrots and even black tomatoes. So while I'm growing to produce food, it's also my playground. I like to try new varieties, and again, my customers like that, because in the shops there's a very limited range of tomatoes, for example. There's only like 2 or 3 different types, but in reality there's over 100 different types of tomatoes. In fact, I've got a book just on tomatoes. That's how much variety, and there's a lot involved in growing tomatoes. Not one of the easiest, but so on my farm I grow a lot of leafy vegetables because I've got mostly clay soil. But I do have raised beds, and that enables me to grow beetroot and other vegetables that need to be in the ground. I've got one sandy area, and that's where I'm growing asparagus.
Wow.
This is the asparagus when it's sprouting, and you don't let it get too tall because it gets tougher as it grows up, and then you cut it off because these leaves are going to do the photosynthesis, like especially those bright green ones, which is feeding the crown, which is under the soil. So under the soil there is a whole sort of root system. It's called a crown, and from the crown we get the spears shooting up. So as I said, I like eating asparagus, but it is also a real speciality. You hardly can get asparagus in the shops. I haven't seen it in the shops. Woolworths usually has some, and it's very, very expensive, but they haven't even had any. So, you know, it actually does quite well in our climate, but prefers the sandy soil. So let's say when we get good rains, it's going to keep producing. So of course I'm actually thinking of putting drip irrigation in here. So because at the moment we're watering with a hose pipe in this tunnel. Most of our tunnels we are using hose pipe, but we do have some drip irrigation that we're gradually putting in. So this particular variety makes seeds. Not all asparagus make seeds, and when they're dry, the seeds are inside, and I don't know if that one's gonna work. No. Let's try that one. They're still a bit wet actually. Okay, there's a seed there. Yeah, that's a seed. There's another one. So I have grown all of these asparagus from these seeds. I practice seed saving on my farm, so that way you know that the seeds are organic because they're from organically grown plants. Also, because they have been grown here, the plants have adapted to this climate. So the seeds will have that same ability. So I find that seeds from my own plants germinate really well and grow really well. Whereas packet seeds, it's hit and miss. Because the seeds we get here in Botswana are not necessarily for our climate. So you have to, choose the ones that will thrive, and then get your own seeds. So as well as heirloom, I grow non-GMO. They are not genetically modified, which among a lot of reasons for doing that, one of them is that means you get your own seeds. If a plant is GMO, you will not get any seeds, because that's the whole idea. They want you to buy more.
Okay, Mafama, can you please explain what shade net tunnel is all about?
Okay, seeing we're not using chemicals, we have to use other ways of protecting our vegetables. So shade net, for a start, it's a physical barrier. It keeps birds out on the whole, flying pests, and even when my dogs were young, they needed to be kept out because they can dig up things, but they are fine now. But of course the major thing is really temperature control. shade netting does let light in, because vegetables do need a lot of sunlight. So, you won't grow it if there's no sunlight, but it reduces it, and that helps to keep the temperature from cooking the vegetables in the height of summer. Theoretically, the lighter color, white and gray, are the best because they reflect the heat, whereas black is the worst, green is somewhere in the middle. However, if you look at my tunnels, they are very high. So actually, the color, the fact that it absorbs heat doesn't cause a great effect. The black shade netting is the cheapest, bottom line. That's why we're mostly using the black. But you can see our tunnels are very tall. So if the shade netting was closer to the plants, then it would heat it. But it's right up there. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? So this is a very interesting tunnel. This was the first one that we built. And the only thing that survived the house fire was the roof of the house. And so 15 years ago, these beds were made from the roof of that house. Of course, metal over time deteriorates, but we've sort of kept the same theme and used scrap metal in these beds.
This seemed to be beneficial. And what are your who are your customers?
Good question. I used to supply restaurants and hotels. I had actually quite a lot of them, 7 restaurants, 3 hotels, and then COVID came in. And the hospitality industry was one of the areas that was really, really hit, and therefore those supplying them were also hit. After COVID, things never have got back to normal. A lot of those restaurants closed down and never opened again. And last year, unfortunately, I lost the remaining customers for different reasons. The import restriction thing is one of the factors. But also it's very difficult as an organic farmer to consistently grow the same things throughout the year. And in a way, I feel, everything happens for a reason, right? So my individual customers are much more concerned about where their food comes from compared to a shop. There's no organic sections in any of the supermarkets. Restaurants and hotels were, but now it's all about price, unfortunately. Whereas an individual person buying for themselves and their family still cares what has been done to their food that's going to be put inside their bodies and their children's bodies. So my main customers, I have a veggie service, and I have customers who've been with me for many years, and they order on a regular basis. We have a drop-off point where they collect them. In fact, it's a preschool that they collect them from. So those are my main customers as far as the production side. But there's another side to my farm, because I'm one of the few organic farms in Botswana, and I believe I was actually probably the first, because when I started 15 years ago, I've been organic from the start. So it's also like a show farm. We have school visits. We've already had Thornhill this year. Northside are coming. Lahai Academy are bringing their environmental and science group. We've got Habaroni International School coming in May. In fact, that side of things is really picking up, and I can see it's because schools are really making an effort to help children understand where their food comes from. So at my farm, they see it growing firsthand, and I teach them about what it means to be organic and the importance of taking care of their own health and that of the environment. Then I also do workshops. I've got one on Saturday. Because I am a teacher, I teach people how to grow organically, just in their homes or on a bigger scale. We open the farm to the public every season, and the next one will be for autumn. So it's not just about production, it's about education. I'm an educator, so I can't stop that side of me, even if I'm a farmer.
This seems to be marketable and profitable for you.
It's a labor of love. To be an organic farmer, you have to be passionate, because it is hard work. But it's worth it, because you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing by people's health, animals' health. I love my dogs and my cats and my chickens and my Kingfisher birds, so I wouldn't want to harm them. So, there's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that you are working with nature instead of destroying it.
Do you have any challenges that you encounter during this practice?
I don't think there's any job that doesn't have challenges. The ones for an organic farmer and any farmer, the major one has to be climate change. The climate has changed considerably since I first started. I used to keep a diary. For every month I would write down what I grew, the rainfall amount, what I harvested, and then the next year I would go back to that diary and say, it's time to plant this, it's time to do that. I've long stopped referring to that diary because it's changing all the time. And as a farmer, it takes time to get seedlings ready to plant, and they need to be planted at the right time that they will do well in. So it's really become a guessing game. There's no, basically summer, winter, that's our two seasons. But where one is going to start, the other ends, how low the temperatures are going to go, what will survive that, what won't. It's really continually changing. So a farmer really has to have their wits about them, constantly be checking the long-range weather forecast as well as the short-range, and basically be very adaptable.
So concerning the 4 seasons, which one do you think this is practical to use?
Well, I mean, obviously people want to eat all year round.
True.
So what you have to do is grow what will thrive under those weather conditions. Now, when we get to the heat of summer, especially if we have a long period with no rain, actually very few plants can survive that, even our so-called summer vegetables. That's what happened this year. The rains came, but they came too late. In my case, most of my tomatoes had already been affected by spider mite, because spider mite comes when there's a long dry period. Now this time last year, the rains came. We had rain earlier in the season, and then we had that massive rain in February. And as a result, we never got spider mite. I was still harvesting tomatoes in June, July.
Wow, okay.
So, this is a sort of, as I say, adaptability, but, acceptance of things you can't change, because we're not in control of the climate. So it really does make it difficult for farmers in Botswana. I believe in other countries they have a more settled climate. So going back to your question, the best time, well, autumn and winter is when we can really grow a lot because we're not dealing with extreme heat. There's still going to be sun, and that is the beauty of the climate here, that we get sun even in winter, whereas in Europe they hardly get any sun. So, you know, there's still some pluses to this climate. But the height of summer is a very harsh time for us. Out in Notwane, we do also get frost. So again, we have to plan to get vegetables ready for harvesting before the frost comes in, if it's going to come in. So, yeah. Because they actually make... Now there's something very exciting right here. What's that? It's English pumpkin. You see, although these are worm farms, I feed the worms with vegetable waste.
Okay.
So sometimes they start growing in there. Oh. So it's not that I meant to grow the pumpkin or the tomatoes. Strawberry Sputniks. That's recycling, right?
Yeah.
These are pool filters that were no longer working. My neighbor, my ex-neighbor, was involved in pool maintenance installation. So he used to get the broken ones, and then you can see cut holes in and these pipes so that when the strawberries make the babies, you just leave them onto these and then they will take root. You see, this has come from here, it will take root. So I'm now taking them to these other two, because this one was the only one that survived the hot dry period. But it survived really well. I don't know, sometimes I don't know what happened, but for some reason you can see how vibrant this one is. There's something about the soil, but we always put the same thing in all of them. Okay. So nature is mysterious at times.
This is a beautiful practice that you're using, but how do you manage the pest, as you've mentioned, the spider pest or something?
Okay, yes. Well, you win some, you lose some. With spider mite, I think any farmer will tell you that you never can win the battle against it. Even if you did use chemicals, spider mite is very resilient, and once you've got it, it spreads very, very fast. So the climate can help us actually. Okay, so the main thing is, as I said, is making sure you work with nature. So the soil needs to be healthy. If you've got healthy soil without the use of chemicals, you're just using natural materials, you will get healthy plants. And healthy plants are resistant. If you have some vegetables growing, you will notice it's the weakest one that will be attacked by pests or disease, because they're easier to attack. You can't even see the spider mites because they are so tiny.
Yeah, they're microscopic stuff. Yeah.
When it's bad, that's when you can see it, because they'll be like, it's so revolting. It's like blood dripping, and it's webs with tons, millions of spider mites on. Then you can actually see the red. So number one is keeping the soil healthy, keeping the conditions as much as possible ideal for the vegetables to grow well. Companion planting, as I mentioned, you mix it up. That confuses the pests. Again, being organic, you encourage, therefore, the good pests, good insects, they're not pests, we call them beneficial predators. that feed off the pests. For example, if you don't use chemicals, you will have ladybirds, you will have lacewings, you will have praying mantis. All of those eat your pests that would, take out your plants. So again, this is all part of working with nature. Crop rotation. If you keep growing the same vegetable in the same place, you are actually encouraging a build-up of the pest that attacks it. So all of these are methods of working with nature and following nature's lead. We don't need to use artificial things and chemicals. Although I'm saying artificial, I do a lot of recycling. Like raised beds, for example, made from recycled materials. So recycling is sort of fits in with the whole thing of working with the environment, isn't it? So about the onion family is generally resistant to pests and disease. And in fact, we use that as a companion plant. That's why these are leeks this side, the spring onions the other side. So that's why we're using them at the edges to help deter the pests. But unfortunately, red spider mite, nothing deters it, unfortunately. But when you're organic, you are going to have some pests. It's a question of a balancing act. You're going to lose a few plants, but you'll have others. You need to stop it from getting worse. And again, that's where observation comes in. Once you spot there's a problem, you can start trying even simple methods like a jet of water can knock aphids off a plant. You will have to come back and do it again. It's not a one finish, but then you've not used any chemicals and you haven't done any damage to your growing medium and the environment, and you've also fed the ladybirds because they can eat those aphids. So this was the original vegetable garden when the house was there. I used to come out of the kitchen door and come in here and pick my veggies. And you can see I had fun designing it. I am also an art teacher. But big design thought, you can't get a wheelbarrow in there. So you have to carry soil by buckets. So now this has been converted into a herb and edible flower garden. So most of the flowers you see in here are edible, so they can be used to decorate food.